These are 5 travel photography tips in under 5 minutes. For this episode of this series, each tip will follow the previous one, so you can apply all of them together in your next trip or photography adventure. As always, none of these tips have anything to do with your gear. You can apply them regardless of what device you use to take photos. We only have 5 minutes, so let's get started. The first tip is not to be a machine gun photographer. It is very common to see people taking photos like crazy of anything that gets in front of them. When traveling, there will be lots of things that will catch your attention. Of course, you can photograph them all, but you don't need 50 photos of the same view. While there are circumstances when you will need to shoot at bursts, such as sports event or when you are taking panning shots, even in these situations, think first and then shoot. This will benefit you in many ways, but the two most obvious ones will be that you will need less storage and you will take fewer photos, and going through the photos will be much easier as you'll need to discard fewer images. Be a sniper and not a machine gun photographer. To make applying these tips simpler, my next tip is to look for themes. This is my favorite way of taking images from a trip or location that can be presented together. This doesn't mean that you need to exclusively shoot one type of photo, but think about how all the images relate. A theme doesn't have to be about the location. It can be about the technique you use, the lenses, anything. Some examples can be like shooting only in 35mm, or focusing on the street life of a place, or framing a characteristic photography element. You don't need a single theme for your photos for a whole trip, but if you have themes, then it will be much easier to create collections, like this one, even if it is from different locations or moments or using different gear. If you mix the first two tips, you will end up with a series of images that have something in common and that don't occupy hundreds of gigabytes. Here's where the next tip comes into play. Never, ever delete your photos on the spot. It is common to look at the photos you just took and then delete them. I used to do this all the time, but it's not a good idea. First, because the screen you will be seeing the photos in is too small. The light conditions will be bad and you might not see the photo correctly. But second, and most importantly, because it is so easy to make a mistake and delete the wrong image. Or in the worst case scenario, erase the whole content of the card. I usually travel with my laptop, but even in these circumstances, I don't delete the photos on the spot or while in the same location. And this is closely tied to the fourth tip: let your photos rest, but don't let them rest for too long. I personally don't like editing my photos just after taking them. There are times when you can't avoid it, either because you're in a rush or because it's something seasonal like autumn or Christmas images. Even in these situations, I like to let my photos rest for a few days, especially if you like editing them. Because editing photos is completely different from taking them. The mood, the vibe, and the attention that it requires will be greatly influenced by how long it has been since you took the photos. Related to the previous point, avoid deleting the photos that you might not like on the spot, because maybe a few weeks later, when checking them again, you can see things you hadn't seen before. But don't let them rest for too long, or you will forget how the moment felt and your editing will stray from what you experienced at that point. Unless this is what you're after. So try to edit your photos at a sweet spot. And of course, adapt this tip to your own timing. Everyone has their own preferred way of working, but I encourage you to experiment with the time elapsed between taking a photo and editing it, as it can lead to very different results. And last but not least, one of the tips I struggle with the most to apply to my own work: ask for critique and learn how to embrace it. I usually say that you should not ask for feedback if you are not ready to receive it, or to receive bad feedback. However, that is the best way to learn. And let me be very clear, feedback and critique are not Instagram. You can get thousands of likes on travel photos or zero reach for amazing ones. Critique means people whose opinion you value and people who know what you are capable of. They can be artists, friends, or family. They can have extensive photography knowledge or not even know what ISO means. What really matters is that these people are willing to critique your photos and edits, telling you what they don't like, and most importantly, that you are willing to receive it. Because it's never easy to share a photo that you love and receive a "I don't like it" in response. And of course, you are taking photos because you like doing it, but that's why it's so important to know who you are asking feedback from. And let's wrap this episode up. Snap your photos, don't shoot at everything, and take photos with themes and purpose. And after taking them, don't delete the ones you don't like on the scene, and maybe let them rest a bit before editing. And once you have edited them, share them and learn from the feedback of those whose opinions you value. And these were 5 photography tips in 5 minutes for this month. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode, as I'm recording more of this per month in addition to all the extra travel and photography content you can find on my channel. Enjoy your trips, and see you in the next video!